forest didn't feel quiet. That was the strange part. Forests are always quiet in some way. You expect silence between sounds, gaps between movements. But this was different. This silence wasn't empty. It was complete, as if nothing had been removed, only locked in place. I noticed it when I stopped walking. Not because I heard something, but because nothing changed when I stopped. No birds lifted, no branches shifted, no insects corrected their rhythm. It felt like the forest was waiting for me to move first. That's when I sensed it. Not a sound, not a shadow, a presence. I turned slowly, already knowing what I would see and still unprepared for it. Between the trees stood a wolf, not charging, not hiding, not even staring directly at me, just standing there. Its posture was wrong. Wolves don't stand like that. Predators lean forward, prey leans away. This one did neither. Its weight was perfectly balanced, as if it wasn't ready to move, but also didn't need to. The distance between us was fixed, too close to ignore, too far to touch. I raised my camera out of habit. Years of filming wildlife had trained my body to react before my mind. My finger hovered over the record button, and then I didn't press it, because a thought cut through my head with terrifying clarity. If I record this, something will change. The wolf tilted its head slightly. No growl, no bared teeth, no warning signs. Just a small adjustment, like it was recalculating. I took one step forward, it took one step too. The distance stayed exactly the same. That was the moment I understood this wasn't a chase. It wasn't even a follow. It was synchronization. I moved again. So did it. I slowed my breath. The wolf's chest mirrored the rhythm. That shouldn't be possible, but it was happening. The path beneath my feet began to disappear, not physically, but conceptually. The ground looked the same, yet it no longer felt like a trail. It felt like I was the first thing to ever move through that space. Like the forest hadn't decided yet whether it would allow me to pass. The wolf stayed beside me, never behind, never ahead. Not guiding, not threatening, observing. I realized then that it wasn't watching my body, it was watching my decisions. Every time I hesitated, its ears adjusted. Every time I committed to a step, its muscles followed, not in response, but in agreement. I stopped again, completely. The wolf stopped at the same instant, same angle, same stance, same stillness. We were close enough now that I could see its eyes clearly. They weren't yellow. They weren't dark. They didn't reflect light. They absorbed it. Looking into them didn't feel like being seen. It felt like being measured. My heart didn't race. That scared me more than panic would have. Instead, it slowed, became precise, almost disciplined. Like my body was adjusting itself to a different set of rules. A thought surfaced, uninvited and undeniable. This animal is not deciding whether to attack me. It has already decided something else. The forest began to feel narrower, not visually, spatially, as if the space behind me was losing relevance. When I glanced back, the trees looked identical, but the idea of returning no longer made sense. There was no direction called back anymore. Only forward, and beside me, always beside me, the wolf continued its silent calculation. It didn't hunger, it didn't fear, it didn't challenge. It waited, not for weakness, for alignment. That's when I understood the most disturbing truth of all. I wasn't lost in the forest. I was being tested by it. And the wolf was not the threat. It was the threshold. Time stopped behaving normally after that. I don't mean it slowed down or sped up. It became irrelevant. Minutes stopped stacking into hours the way they were supposed to. Every step felt isolated, detached from the one before it, as if the forest had broken my movement into individual moments instead of a journey. The wolf was still there, always there. Sometimes in my peripheral vision, sometimes directly beside me, sometimes slightly ahead, but never fully turning its back to me. It didn't need to look, it already knew where I was. I tried something reckless. I turned suddenly, stepping directly toward it. Most animals flinch, even apex predators adjust. This wolf didn't move backward or forward. It simply rotated its body, keeping the same distance, the same alignment, as if the space between us was locked by an invisible rule. I felt irritation rise in my chest. That emotion didn't belong there. Fear would have made sense, curiosity too. But irritation felt wrong, artificial, like it had been placed inside me. The forest reacted immediately. Branches cracked far to my left, not loudly, not as a warning, as a statement. I understood then that emotions mattered here, not actions, not intentions, emotions. I forced myself to calm down, slowed my breathing again, lowered my shoulders. The forest relaxed. The sound didn't repeat. The wolf's ears returned to neutral. That was the first time I felt true unease, because it meant this place wasn't random. It was responsive. I kept walking. At some point, I realized I hadn't heard wind in a long time. Leaves didn't rustle naturally anymore. When branches moved, they did so with purpose, like joints instead of plants. I checked my phone. No signal. That was expected. But the battery percentage made no sense. It hadn't changed, not even by 1%. I tried recording again. The screen flickered once, twice, then stabilized. The camera showed the forest clearly, but the wolf wasn't there. I lowered the phone slowly and looked with my own eyes. The wolf stood exactly where it had been. I raised the phone again. Nothing. That's when a dangerous thought entered my mind. What if the wolf isn't meant to be seen? What if it wasn't a physical animal the way I understood animals? I stopped recording and put the phone away. Almost immediately, I felt a subtle release in the air, like pressure easing. Approval. I hated that word the moment it formed in my head. Hours passed. I know that now, even though it didn't feel like it then. The light through the trees never shifted the way it should have. No golden hour, no dusk. Just a static gray filtered through endless branches. I should have been exhausted. I wasn't. My legs moved without complaint. My breathing stayed controlled. Hunger never arrived. Thirst stayed distant, theoretical. The wolf never slowed, never rushed, never showed fatigue. At one point, the terrain changed. The forest floor dipped slightly, then rose into a narrow ridge. The trees grew closer together, their trunks bending inward like ribs. The wolf finally moved ahead of me, only a few steps, just enough to lead. I followed without deciding to. That scared me more than anything else so far, because I realized I hadn't made a conscious choice in a long time. The path narrowed until my shoulders brushed bark on both sides. The air grew colder, heavier. My breath became visible. Then I smelled it. Not decay, not blood. Something older, like damp stone and wet iron. The wolf stopped. For the first time, it fully turned its head and looked directly at me. Not through me, at me. Its eyes changed, not in color, in focus. They were no longer measuring, they were confirming. The ground ahead sloped downward into a shallow clearing. The trees there were wrong, too straight, too evenly spaced. The earth looked pressed, compacted like something heavy had rested there for a long time. I stepped forward. The moment my foot crossed an invisible boundary, the forest behind me changed. Not dramatically, subtly. The silence broke, but not with sound, with absence. The feeling of being watched from behind vanished completely. Everything was now in front of me, including the wolf. It didn't enter the clearing. It sat at the edge, watching, waiting. Not for me, for what would happen to me. That's when I understood the role it had been playing all along. The wolf wasn't following me. It was escorting me, making sure I arrived intact. Because whatever was here wasn't for it. It was for me. I stood at the edge of the clearing longer than I can explain. Not because I was afraid to move forward, but because something inside me was resisting the idea that this place was real. The symmetry was too perfect. Nature doesn't do this. Trees don't line themselves like sentries unless something forces them to. The ground felt compressed under my boots like it had been stepped on repeatedly for years, maybe decades. No grass, no roots breaking through, just dark soil pressed flat and lifeless. I turned slowly, half expecting the forest behind me to have disappeared. It hadn't, but it felt sealed, like a door quietly closed without sound. The wolf remained at the boundary, still as stone. Its body relaxed, but its eyes never left me. I understood then that it wouldn't follow me any farther. Whatever happened next, I was on my own. I stepped fully into the clearing. The air shifted immediately. Not colder or warmer, emptier. My ears rang faintly the way they do when pressure changes too quickly. I swallowed hard, trying to clear the sensation, but it stayed. Then the memories started misbehaving. Images surfaced that weren't triggered by thought. Faces I hadn't remembered in years appeared fully formed in my mind. My first field expedition, my mentor laughing over burnt coffee. The last argument I had with one of the colleagues who never came back. I hadn't chosen to remember any of it. The clearing was doing it for me. I reached for my recorder again, hands shaking slightly now. This time it turned on instantly. The red light blinked, steady and calm, mocking my growing unease. I spoke quietly at first. I'm in a clearing. Trees appear unnaturally aligned. Ground shows signs of repeated compression. There is no wildlife, no insects, no sound. As I spoke, the air vibrated faintly, like my voice was being absorbed instead of echoing. Then I said something I didn't plan to say. I'm not alone, the recorder crackled, not with static, with breath. I froze. The sound was subtle but unmistakable. Slow inhalation, controlled exhalation. Not mine. Too measured. Too patient. I spun around. Nothing. The clearing remained empty. The wolf hadn't moved. I raised the recorder closer to my ear. The breathing continued, syncing almost perfectly with my own heartbeat. Panic crept in, sharp and intrusive. I stopped the recording. The breathing stopped too. That was when I noticed the marks on the ground. They weren't footprints, they were impressions. Large oval depressions spaced too evenly to belong to an animal, as if something had knelt here or rested its weight deliberately. I followed them to the center of the clearing. The pressure in my ears intensified. My vision blurred slightly at the edges. And then I felt it, a presence, not behind me, not in front, but above, not hovering, looming. I forced myself to look up. There was nothing in the sky, no shape, no movement, Yet my body reacted violently. Muscles tightened, breath shortened, every instinct screamed that I was exposed, examined, measured from a vantage point I couldn't perceive. I understood then why my colleagues never returned. This wasn't a place that killed you. It was a place that decided if you were worth letting go. My thoughts slowed, becoming heavy and deliberate, like they were moving through syrup. I tried to remember how long I'd been here, hours, days. The concept slipped away every time I reached for it. The recorder turned on by itself. The red light blinked. A sound emerged, not breath this time, but something closer to a voice, stretched thin and distorted, as if it had forgotten how language worked. Not words, names, my name, spoken incorrectly, over and over, each repetition closer to the right pronunciation. Learning, I dropped the recorder. The sound continued anyway. I backed away, heart pounding now, fear finally breaking through the artificial calm that had wrapped around me earlier. That calm had been a leash, and now it was gone. The ground beneath me vibrated softly, not an earthquake, a pulse. I stumbled and fell, palms pressing into the cold soil. The moment my skin made contact, images flooded my mind, places I'd never been, forests far older than this one, people standing where I stood now, all frozen in the same moment of realization. They had all reached this point. Very few had gone back. The vibration stopped suddenly. Silence returned. I pushed myself up, gasping. The wolf howled, not loud, not aggressive. A single low note stretched with purpose. It wasn't calling for help. It was signaling completion. I turned toward it, desperate now, but the clearing felt heavier, resisting my movement like walking through invisible water. Something shifted behind me. I didn't look, I didn't need to. I felt it. Close. Too close. And then it stepped back, just one step. The pressure lifted slightly, as if I had passed an initial test, but I knew with horrifying clarity that this wasn't the end. It was only the point where the forest decided to let me leave, and I had no idea why. By the time I realized the wolf wasn't leading me away from danger, it was already too late to turn back. The forest had changed again, not visually. That was the worst part. The trees still stood where they were supposed to. The moss still clung to the trunks. The ground still dipped and rose in familiar ways, but the space between things felt wrong. Distances stretched. Sounds arrived late, or not at all. When I stopped walking, the silence didn't settle. It waited. The wolf moved ahead of me, always just far enough that I couldn't reach it, but never far enough to lose sight of it. Its gait was steady, controlled, not cautious, not aggressive, purposeful. It never once looked back. That's when I understood something that still makes my stomach tighten even now. It wasn't checking if I was following. It knew. The first sign that this wasn't normal came when I noticed my breathing no longer matched my steps. I would inhale, but the sound of it seemed delayed, like the forest had to approve it before letting it exist. My heartbeat felt distant, muffled, as if it wasn't fully inside my body anymore. Then the ground changed, not suddenly, gradually. The soil became darker, compacted, pressed down as if something heavy had stood there repeatedly over a long period of time. No paw prints, no claw marks, just absence. As though whatever moved through this place had learned not to leave evidence. The wolf stopped. For the first time since I had started following it. It stood at the edge of a natural clearing, circular, unnaturally precise. Trees bent inward around it, not broken, not damaged, but subtly angled as if they had grown away from the center. I felt it then. Pressure, not physical, not pain, awareness. The sensation you get when someone stands too close behind you, even with your eyes closed, but multiplied, stretched across the clearing, wrapped around my skull. My thoughts slowed, not because I was panicking, but because something else seemed to be sorting them. The wolf finally turned its head. Its eyes met mine for the first time. There was no hunger in them, no fear, no dominance, only recognition and something colder beneath it. That's when the sound started. Low frequency, almost below hearing. Not a growl, not a howl. A vibration that resonated inside my chest, inside my teeth. My equipment began to react before I did. Static bursts, erratic spikes, then sudden stabilization, like the devices had locked onto a signal they'd been waiting for. The clearing wasn't empty. I couldn't see anything else, but I knew. The pressure intensified, folding inward. My vision narrowed. Peripheral details faded like a camera lens tightening its focus against my will. The wolf didn't move. It didn't need to. Something shifted behind the trees. Not movement, not footsteps, but displacement, as if the forest itself had adjusted to make room. That's when the truth began to form in my mind, piece by piece, against my will. The wolf wasn't alone. It never had been. It wasn't a scout or a predator in the way humans understand. It was an interface, a boundary, a living point of contact between whatever owned this place and whatever wandered into it. The realization hit harder than fear, because it meant the wolf didn't attack me for the same reason it hadn't attacked anyone else. It wasn't meant to. It was meant to observe behavior, reactions, compliance. I remembered the others then, how some panicked, how some froze, how some tried to assert control over the situation. I remembered who disappeared first, who resisted, who refused to follow instructions, spoken or unspoken. The pressure sharpened. I dropped to one knee without deciding to. My body moved as if responding to rules I hadn't been taught but somehow understood. My vision blurred, not from tears but from sensory overload. The sound deepened, becoming rhythmic, patterned, measured. The wolf stepped forward once, placing itself directly between me and the center of the clearing. Not as a threat, as a warning. And in that moment, I finally understood what choice meant here. Not fight or flight, submission or removal. The forest didn't want chaos, it wanted compatibility. The sound reached its peak, then abruptly cut. The silence afterward was suffocating. The wolf turned away, walked toward the trees on the far side of the clearing, and I followed because stopping felt worse than obedience. Behind me, the pressure lifted slightly but never fully disappeared. Ahead, the forest opened just enough to allow passage, like a door that would close the moment I stepped through. I didn't know then whether I was being spared or processed. I still don't. But one thing was clear now, in a way it hadn't been before. The wolf was never the danger. It was the question, and I had already answered it. I don't remember leaving the forest. There was no final turn, no moment where the trees thinned and daylight broke through like it does in stories. 1 second I was walking behind the wolf, my senses dulled, my thoughts no longer fully mine. And the next, I was lying on damp ground with unfamiliar light burning through my closed eyelids. Not forest light, open light, sky. My body reacted before my mind did. My lungs convulsed, dragging in air like I'd been underwater far too long. My hands clawed at the ground, fingers curling into soil that felt wrong. Too loose, too exposed. When I forced my eyes open, the trees were behind me, not receding. Gone. I was at the edge. Rescue teams found me hours later, according to their reports. Dehydrated, hypothermic, in shock. They said I kept trying to sit up, turning my head slowly, methodically, as if counting something that wasn't there. When they asked me questions, I didn't answer. Not because I couldn't speak, but because every time I tried, my throat tightened in a way that felt monitored. They told me I was lucky. I didn't correct them because luck implies chance, and nothing about what happened felt random. The official investigation went nowhere. No signs of struggle, no remains, no evidence that matched the equipment logs I insisted they review. The audio recordings were labeled corrupted, though I know what I heard before the batteries died. They dismissed the wolf as stress-induced hallucination, a projection, a symbol. But symbols don't leave patterns, and they don't wait. Weeks passed, then months. My body recovered faster than my instincts. I couldn't sleep in silence anymore. True silence made my skin crawl. I left lights on, recorded myself breathing at night just to prove to myself that the sound was still mine. Sometimes just before sleep I hear it, not a howl, not a voice. A low-frequency presence pressing gently against the edges of awareness. Patient, familiar. As if something is checking in to see if I still remember the rules. I haven't returned to any forest since. But I don't believe that matters, because whatever lives there doesn't need me to go back. It already knows how I move, how I react, how long I hesitate before following. And if you're listening to this, if you've made it this far, then maybe it knows you a little now too. So if you ever find yourself deep in the woods and you see a wolf that doesn't run, doesn't growl, doesn't attack, pay attention to what it does next. Because it might not be watching you, it might be waiting to see what kind of answer you are.